Thank you. Still getting to know how to use Clubhouse, aren't you? Yeah, love it. Brilliant stuff. Great to have you here. Great to see Dahlia and Grace have joined us as well. Today is a really important room. It's such an important room. And I've just gone live over on LinkedIn again. I spent 4 hours live on LinkedIn yesterday. That was pretty interesting. It took it out of me as well, because we were talking about International Women's Day, and how interesting is it? I wonder how many organisations are continuing to work towards equality, equity in their organisations today, being as it is not International Women's Day. We will see. We will see. It was very, very interesting. We had some brilliant guest speakers in. Rihanna, who did you enjoy listening to? What were some of your takeaways?
I have to say, my absolute top takeaway was the moment that Suad announced she's officially a genius. That was amazing. I whooped. I had a whoop. I'm not going to lie. I blooming loved it.
She is. Our Suad is an actual genius. I think 140, an IQ of 140. So absolutely incredible stuff. I know that I have quite a high IQ, but I haven't done an IQ test for ages. So it'd be interesting to find out. Or maybe not. I don't know.
I have not done an IQ test. I'm steering clear.
I don't know what you've got the highest score on, but it's got to be something like supporting others, courageousness, empowerment, cheering people on. I can think of all sorts of things that you would have the top 1 percentile mark for. Definitely, absolutely. Yeah.
I would definitely like to be a genius in cheerleading. I would be happy with that.
Brilliant. Okay, right. Let me make some formal introductions then. And those of you who are here, please do invite some people into the room. I know that we stopped doing the Wednesday room for a while, but we are back with a bang, and we are here every single Wednesday again, talking about things that matter, things that are important to women in business, particularly. And welcome to those of you who join over on LinkedIn. Please do feel free to post in the comments, asking any questions. Today, we're spending an hour talking about how we're showing up. How is it that you are showing up to market, to talk about your business, to grow your business, to show up as yourself and your personal brand? It can be really, really difficult. And I know that at first, when we heard the announcements about what was going on in Ukraine, and when the media started really talking about this, it was like a snowball effect. Humanity goes into a kind of shock mode, and it's almost like we retreat first, we consider, we deliberate, and then we speak. And that's good, because we are not being rash. We are taking cautious consideration to make sure that we are not perpetuating a problem. But what I do think is really important for those of us who are brave or stupid, I don't know what you'd call it, people like me who have said, we will be a voice for people. We will be a voice to ask questions, to be in discomfort, to make sure that we are sticking our necks above the parapet, our heads above the parapet, and really pushing the conversation in that moment where people want to retreat, where people want to go back for fear of looking greedy, for fear of being insensitive, for fear of condemnation. And that's what we want to work against. It's so important, because I'm going to put this right at the start of today's room. We have to continue doing business. The world does not need us to stop running our businesses. The world needs us to continue to generate wealth, to create economies, so that we can support people that need the help that we can give them. So yeah, I'm going to ask a question to start us off, and just flash your mics if you want to come in on this. Who here felt uncomfortable showing up on social media given what was going on in Ukraine and Russia? Just flash your mics if you felt uncomfortable showing up on social media. We've only got a few of you in here. Well, no one here. That's really... Oh, Lorraine, maybe. Okay, interesting stuff. And Lorraine works for a charity. Well, she has created a charity. So it'd be interesting to hear from you in a sec, Lorraine, about that. And then just flash your mics if you have received some kind of comment or something that says that maybe you shouldn't be talking about your business at the moment? I'd just be interested to see if that's the case. No, good. Excellent. Well, we are coming to a point where people are beginning to step out again and are beginning to talk again, but it's because of people who will step out at the very beginning and say, no, come on, let's do this. And a really good example is Leah Turner. Leah Turner, who is a spokeswoman on LinkedIn. She's a LinkedIn trainer. She's absolutely phenomenal. And she created an event and sold tickets and, oh my goodness me, created over £40,000 worth of donations for this masterclass that she ran on Monday, which is all being donated to the front line in Ukraine. On the ground, boots on the ground, supporting people. And the amount of hatred that was thrown towards Leah during her promotion of that was absolutely ridiculous. It was really heartbreaking. So this is what some people have to deal with, and that's what I want to talk about today, is how are you showing up in business? So flash your mics if you'd like to speak first. Hi there, those of you who've joined us over on LinkedIn. It's great to see you here. Who would like to share about how they are either struggling or getting through showing up in their businesses? I'm looking for flashes. Lorraine, I'm going to come to you. I love you, Lorraine. Thank you. I was talking for 4 hours yesterday, so thank you.
I hope you are. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I've experienced it twice with the Ukraine situation, and also when the first pandemic started with lockdown, and everybody was like, well, I know we're a charity and we support cancer patients, but people were saying, maybe you need to back down a bit and not do what you need to do and focus on the core issues that are out there, which was like supporting the NHS at the time. And it did make me question myself that maybe I should not promote the charity and try to get support for what we did. And it's really hard to fight against it when other people are telling you shouldn't do and promote and support the cause that matters to you. And I had to really struggle through that to the point where it made me feel really uncomfortable. But I'm glad I did, because at the end of the day, the work I'm doing is because it's something that's really important to me and matters to me to support adult cancer patients. And if I don't do that, then that sector of people won't get the support that they need to. So I think for me, what I've learned over the last 2 times when we've had issues in society that are really difficult is that you still need to show up, because the people that you're serving still need you as well.
It's so true. It really is so true, because if you stop, what happens? Just tell us what happens, Lorraine, if you stop. Give us some of those examples.
Yeah, I think for me, my point of view, if I had stopped providing the gifts and going into hospitals to support cancer patients during, for example, the COVID situation, then there would have been people in hospital without things such as toiletries, underwear, things to help pass the time, because no visitors were able to get in. So people didn't have their family member to support them anymore, or friends. And a knock-on effect of that there would be people that are lonely, scared, isolated, in fear. So I had to make the decision to continue, because you can't leave those people to suffer as well. So that's what I've taken from that.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating that we do that we go through that. So you are obviously, you've got a big push in the charity at the moment. I know that you're taking massive personal and professional steps to bring yourself fully into alignment with what you're doing there. And you've created that from scratch. You've created that from nothing. And you're right, when you talk about the pandemic, when the pandemic started, I nearly didn't set up the membership, which up until this year has been it's been a philanthropic arm of the business. It's been something that I have pumped money into to give back to women who can't access, who couldn't at the time access my services. Imagine if I hadn't done that. Imagine if I'd chosen, and at the time, actually, it's really interesting because this sticks with me so vividly. the week that we went to, we'd got all the marketing in place, we'd got everything ready to go, all the emails ready to go. Then COVID was announced, and then J.K. Rowling said, made a public comment about the fact that coaches were all charlatans and that they shouldn't be selling and marketing their services given what was happening in the pandemic. And it really got me because, number one, I loved J.K. Rowling. Like, she, I loved her. She'd written books that I, adored. We'd all grown up with them. Jackson loved them. The author of the book was saying that I was a charlatan. I took it really personally. And I sat on our marketing, on our release for 2 days. We absolutely delayed it for 2 days. And imagine if I hadn't done that, none of us would be here now. Rihanna, you wouldn't be employed. Storm, you wouldn't be employed in the business. Dahlia, you wouldn't be a member. Lorraine, you wouldn't be a member. Grace, I'd have never got to meet you. Catherine, you wouldn't be here on the stage. Carly, you wouldn't be here on the stage. And it's that's important. It's that foresight and that future work that is really, really important. So, Lorraine, just tell us, while you're here and able to speak, some of the amount of people that you've managed to support and the impact that you've made. Just tell us a bit about your charity.
Yeah, so the charity was created because my mother-in-law spent a lot of time in the local hospital where I live in Northampton following her cancer diagnosis. And that is where it was a real eye-opener for me, actually, because I've never been in a situation where anybody I had known had cancer before. And I was just taken aback by the loneliness and boredom and isolation, and how some people couldn't even afford basic things such as their toiletries or their favourite book or magazine because of their cancer treatment. They could no longer work, so they had to prioritise bills. And it was just through being in there for a number of years and just seeing that, myself and my husband Lee pop into the shop and arming ourselves with puzzle books and sweets and toiletries, and then going back onto the ward and handing them out, that it just made a real difference to people's day, and it brightened it up and it made them smile, and it just let them know that there's people out there that do care for them. And that's what inspired us to set up the Lewis Foundation back in 2016. As you said, Lucy, and it was like a crazy time. It came from nothing, but we were really determined and passionate to make a difference because we knew how important it was to people. And yeah, it's almost 6 years later, 6 years next month. And we've given away over 75,000 gifts in that time and raised over £500,000 to support adult cancer patients. So I have to try and keep showing up, even though sometimes it's really hard and you never know if it's right or is somebody going to say something, because it's something that's really important and that matters to me. And also I know the people on the receiving end as well.
Yeah, amazing, Lorraine. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the work that you do, because it's absolutely brilliant. I love that Lorraine is in the membership. I love that she is continuing her personal professional growth, and really that we are able to support that in some small way, because I just know how much you impact the people, especially in and around where I live, and it's really important that you're supported. So thank you, Lorraine. Love that. Love that from you. Love it. And what I want to say is that yesterday, just coming to that point about what you have just mentioned, is yesterday in that 4-hour session that I did on LinkedIn, a guy called Mick Tilley came in and spoke with me about being a white privileged man. And he put himself in a very vulnerable position, and he was happy to do so because he knew that by him leading the way, by him stepping up, it created and forged a path for others to follow. And I don't know who, just flash your mics if you heard Mick yesterday. Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. Rihanna, what were your thoughts on Mick's shares?
Yeah, I absolutely loved listening to him and just like his understanding of what he doesn't know, and what his understanding that he hasn't got this isn't his lived experience was just amazing. And I'd love to know where that comes from. Like I don't know if he mentioned that during the live because I didn't catch it all, but the bit that I was listening to, I didn't know where that comes from. Like, I didn't know if he'd had experiences that had made him, wake up to that, or whether it's just things like seeing your post, Lucienne, that you've stepped out of the comfort zone, you're leading the way with your posts. Has he just seen those and gone, you know what, she's so right? Like, I just wanted to know where that came from. So yeah, he is a really incredible male ally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And he mentioned his sister. So he mentioned that he's diagnosed autistic and that he had a sister who passed away who was also diagnosed as autistic, and that he had seen differences in the way that the two of them had been treated throughout their school life. So he had lived experience of that, of the inequality for his sister and for himself. And then also he did mention that he has really noticed, maybe through that lens of what's happened between, with him and his sister, he has really noticed how he will write things on social media and he won't get anywhere near the comments or the remarks that his fellow females will be writing, and it really annoys him, it really frustrates him. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. What a great ally Mick is. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I'd like you to flash your mics if you'd like to contribute to the conversation. I'd love to see if you want to get involved. Lorraine, did you want to share anything else? Just check in because you're
Oh, not at the moment. Sorry, I didn't realise I was on mute.
That's all right. Don't apologise. It's all very chill here. You know what it's like. Do you know, I can't believe that I'm just sat here talking into the computer, into my phone, and I feel like I'm talking to friends. I don't feel like I'm on show. Anyone could watch this. Anyone could share this, but I just don't care. Rihanna, coming to you.
Yeah, I just thought when you said about, what Mike could post and not have the backlash, anywhere near the same backlash, I thought what a cool experiment it would be for you and him to post the same post. Just change it a tiny bit so it looks like it's come from him and it looks as if it's come from you, and just do a little social experiment. What response does he get, and what response do you get, and maybe even widen that, get a few people, a few women and a few men, so it's across the board a bit more, and get a bit scientific with it. But I think that would be such an interesting experiment to do.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love that. Now, the problems, so I've got my academic research hat on here, and the problems with that are that there are so many variables. So it would never be a fair comparison because of, let's say, different amount of time spent on the platform, etc. All of that stuff, different connections, different ways of communicating. However, what would be really interesting, I think, oh my God, Rihanna, you're an absolute genius. We could do this between maybe 6 people, 3 females, 3 males, and we could all post the same thing at the same time. And we could screenshot the comments that are made, and we can have a look at what we call in research. Oh my God, I've forgotten the word for it. It's within qualitative data, but it is metaphor and references. So you put together strings of things that are similar. I'll explain it better. I'll do an Instagram story, but we can absolutely compare. Can you hear how my brain is like whirring? Like, how can we make this? How can we make this right? How can we make this absolutely, future proof for? Come on, folks, look at the difference. Look at the disparity. Rihanna, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to credit it to you. I'm going to say inspired.
I love that. In fact, you said the word Rihanna, you're a genius. I'm glad this room is recorded. It's official. I'm a genius.
There you go. There you go. You planted the seed. Can you see how the seed gets planted? Absolutely amazing. I love it. Okay, so we're going to have a reset of the room, and then I'm going to be giving you some practical, strategic guidance about how you can be showing up in order to further your business, further your cause. And I'm here for any questions, so please do flash your mics. If you want to ask any questions during the second part of this show, we close at 1 on the dot. 2 on the dot. We don't time travel in this room. Rihanna, over to you for the reset.
You are in the CEW Club, which stands for the Collective of Extraordinary Women, being brought to you by Master Accredited Female Empowerment Specialist Coach Lucienne Shakir, and me, the Community Empowerment Manager, Rihanna Wright, and Storm, who is the Social Media Marketing Manager. This room is being recorded, so as well as being live here in Clubhouse, the room is being live streamed to LinkedIn. You can find us here and on LinkedIn Live every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and on a Thursday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. You will find us over on LinkedIn, beta testing the new voice feature, and you can make sure that you never miss a room by giving the club a follow simply by clicking on the little green house next to the room title. You can keep up to date with what's going on in the collective on Facebook and Instagram by searching at the.c.e.w. Plus, you can follow Lucienne across social media platforms such as Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook by searching at Lucienne Coaching, or by subscribing to her podcast, That's What She Said. At the top of the room, you'll find a strategy quiz and support guide that helps you to deep dive into finding out what's stopping you from growing a business you love, along with actionable steps tailored to your needs. We're a female empowerment driven club, and we love to welcome new voices up to the stage, but we can only invite you up if you have a profile picture, something in your bio, and an active link to your Instagram or Twitter account. We also love to welcome our male allies onto stage, and we respectfully request that any shares are in support of the women you hear speaking on the stage, and that you keep your shares to a short 30 seconds. When you're invited up to stage, your mic is automatically open, so please make sure you click to mute straight away until it's your turn to speak, so that the conversation can continue to flow. Okay, that's the room reset complete. Back over to you, Lucienne.
Amazing, Rihanna. Thank you so much. God, I've missed it. I've really missed it. It's been such a long time. Thank you. And you know what? It's quite lovely that there's only a few of you here, because it helps me relax quite massively. However, it would be great if we can bring in as many people as possible to hear this, because what I'm about to share with you is stuff that, people pay a lot of money for this kind of guidance and advice. And the more people actually that I can help and support with this guidance and advice, the better. So those of you in the room, please do bring people in. Acknowledge the fact that we are giving away free support and advice, and really help to grow this community, the Collective of Extraordinary Women, which is my baby. I'm so passionate about this group. It's such an important part of my world and my life, and my life's work at nearly 40 years old. Got at least another 40 years to go. So let's see what we can do and how we can grow it. Right. Grab a pen and a piece of paper, because I'm going to be sharing with you some practical things that you can be doing to show up for your communities. Things that perhaps you hadn't thought about other than just showing up, like, hitting the record button. Things that, might be really, really simple, but you hadn't thought of it, and it's so easy for you to do, and why not just give it a go? So the first thing that I'm going to say today when it comes to showing up is show up as you would like to be seen. So the first thing is to show up as you would like to be seen. So write this down, showing up as you would like to be seen, and get really clear on what that means to you. Because when we show up from our value set, when we show up from our drivers, it is far easier for us to speak in our truth, to speak in a way that doesn't offend and upset, and you can really be grounded in, no, this is what I believe. So showing up how you want to be seen is really important at the moment, because there are a lot of people who might make rash decisions about how they show up, might not be quite ready in how they show up, whatever that means. But it's no lie that we can damage our reputation very quickly by saying the wrong thing. But I know, for number one, if you know in advance, if you are prepared in understanding how you want to show up, and you tap into that before you hit the record button or before you send a message, that's really helpful in grounding you to share your message. So that's the first thing that I would say. And I'd like to talk about these afterwards, just to see, you know, where we can tweak them or where we can improve them. So number one, showing up how you want to be seen. Number two is asking questions. So I see a lot of mistakes being made by people who will show up and give their opinion and not really listen to their outside community or to their inside community. And the problem with that is you're not asking what it is that people need, or you're showing up as if you have all of the answers. And we don't have all of the answers. Nobody has all of the answers. So when you show up, asking the questions of your community to show that you are also learning, you are also finding your way through, because it's going to help people to feel so much more secure going forward. The third one, so we've got showing up how you want to be seen. Number two, we've got asking the questions. Number three is understanding how you can best give support. So I gave some advice on social the other day about how you can best help in this situation. And there is a site that, well, there's a theory which is effective altruism. So you might want to go and look that up, effective altruism. And effective altruism is all about not just paying your £10 to Oxfam every week or taking your clothes to a charity shop, even though that's brilliant, but actually understanding where that £10 could really have an impact in saving somebody's life. And I've just signed up to effective altruism, to a website where they give you newsletters about how you can be best supporting, what's actually working, what isn't working. You can really go down a rabbit hole with this. But if you do some research into understanding how you can actually support and knowing where your money goes or where your efforts go is really, really important. The fourth point that I want to make today, I'm just ticking these off as I go along. The fourth point that I want to make is sharing with your network what you are learning. And this is something that I do a lot of. So sharing your learning with your network is so good, because if we're all doing this, we can really speed up the process of learning. So let's say I learn about effective altruism. So I learn that my £10 can be better spent saving somebody's life by doing X rather than doing Z. And I share that on my social media. And then I see somebody else who is learning that this happened 10 years ago in Ukraine, and that might be a potential factor why X, Y, and Z. And so I'm learning information. And the more we share what we're learning, it taps into number three, the more we're showing that we don't know everything yet, and we will never know everything. So number four is sharing your learning. Number five is so important. It's so important. Be prepared to get it wrong. By asking yourself a few coaching questions like, what is the overall impact actually if I get this information wrong? What can I do to help the situation if I get this wrong? Am I going to lose my life, the life of my family, if I get this wrong? Really bringing it into reason. What happens actually when you get it wrong? So be prepared for that. Recently, Rihanna will remember that I did an interview and it was put across a certain platform and I was called racist. They had a complaint that I was racist because I said something about, it sounds so awful now when I say it, and taken out of context, it did sound awful, but within context, it absolutely made sense to me. I'm not going to say it again because I'm learning from that mistake. However, I immediately knew what I needed to do to rectify the situation by speaking up, by speaking to people that I knew, by asking the question, by understanding, and by being prepared to get it wrong. Because when you're a public figure and when you're leading, you are going to get it wrong. There are times when you're going to get it wrong. So you need to have the support in place to help you to get it wrong. And we all get it wrong, and that's okay. So the first one is showing up how you want to be seen. So being prepared, being really proactive about, right, how do I want to show up? What is it? What energy am I tapping into? What message is it that I want to share? Number 2 is asking questions of your community, asking questions outside of your community. Maybe some of you might know people who have lived in Ukraine, or have moved to Ukraine in the last few years, or have left Ukraine. Could you be asking them questions to find out and deepen your learning? Could you be asking questions online? What does this mean? Who feels like this? Who else has got this problem? Number 3, understanding how, what have I put here? Understanding how, I don't even know what I've written. That's hilarious. I'll come back to number 3. Number 4 is sharing your learning with everybody. Sharing your learning. Oh yeah, understanding how you can actually make a difference is number 3. What can you actually do to make a difference? So checking out effective altruism. And number 4, sharing your learning. And number 5, being prepared to get it wrong is so important. You can tell I've spent too much time talking live, can't you? Because it's just, my brain is like, woof, okay, right. So who here it feels strong with any of those things? Showing up how you want to be seen, asking questions, understanding how you can actually help, sharing your learning, or being prepared to get it wrong. Who here feels that they could either improve or need to strengthen some of those things? Dahlia, coming to you.
Actually, I thought a lot about your points 2, 3, and 4, and to me, the strength in what you said is that it feels so much like a female approach to leading, and it's relational, and I just find it very positive. So I wasn't so much pointing to a place I need to grow, but rather just pointing how much that resonated with me. And I wanted to call it out to celebrate it, because I don't think that's, what they're teaching in the MBA schools or the leadership programs necessarily. Sometimes they talk about servant leadership, but they don't really talk about what I consider a very feminine approach to leadership that I think is incredibly empowering and strong.
Yeah, that's, do you know what? That is a very interesting point that you make, because there are so many differences in how female leaders appear generally, and just how much better off we could be in the world if we had more women and men working together with equally senior roles in positions of leadership and power, and that feminine ability to be able to lead from a place of asking, understanding, listening, creating, communicating, collaborating, all very brilliant traits that we see in a lot of our female leaders. So thank you, Dahlia, for raising that. That's a really good point. Very, very well made. And no, I don't know of any MBAs that have that on their curriculum. So yeah, it's a good point. Very, very well made. Who here has got it wrong? Flash your mics if you've got it wrong. If you've been somebody, you don't have to share it here today, but just so that I can see if anybody else has ever got it wrong. Rihanna, Storm, Dahlia's got it wrong. I'm glad you're with us. Lorena's got it wrong. Okay, awesome. Yes, Storm has got it wrong. I think all of us have, but we're still alive, right? We're still here and we're still alive, even though we got it wrong. And it's okay. It's okay to get it wrong. What's important is what happens after you get it wrong. So Anybody here in the audience listening? I can see Grace, Carly, Andy, and Suzanne. Lovely. I love your pictures, Suzanne. That's absolutely brilliant. If you'd like to come up and join us and ask any questions about difficulties that you might be having with how you show up, I'm more than happy to help. I'm going to stay here for about another 10 minutes unless we hear more questions from the audience. Please do raise your hand and Rayanna will bring you up and we can support you with that. And I've just outlined the 5 things that we can be doing to show up as leaders in our spaces to continue business. So 1, showing up how you want to be seen and being proactive about knowing what that looks like. Number 2 is asking questions of communities that you're in, of communities that you're not in, asking questions to deepen your understanding. The 3rd is understanding how you can actually help. Go and check out sites on effective altruism. The podcast Stuff You Should Know has just done a really good episode on effective altruism and what it means. The 4th is sharing your learning. So showing up by sharing your learning. Hey, I'm finding it really difficult at the moment to show up, but here's what I'm learning about the situation so that I can continue to show up. And the 5th is being prepared. I don't even know what number 5 is, and I can't read my writing, folks. I could read it 10 minutes ago, and now I can't even read it. This is what International Women's Day does to me. It breaks me because it tears me in two, and I'll tell you why it tears me in two. The first reason is that I spend all of my time talking about female empowerment, and very often I have a cool group of people who really cheer and rally me on, and there's quite a lot of you in the room today, and I'm really grateful to you for that because it keeps me going. But a lot of the time I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of people who don't agree. I get a lot of me being paid to come into places and to have these conversations up until this year. So the start of this year, not so much because I've been doing a lot less corporate work, but, you know, really needing to convince or persuade or create situations where people understand that this is important. When, you know, you're talking to people who haven't necessarily brought you into the organization, but you've been brought in by somebody in HR to discuss the problem. And it's really hard, and you're constantly getting pushback, and you feel alone. Sometimes you feel alone. You're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? And then a day comes around every year where everyone is celebrating women, where people who you know that they don't really care about equality and empowerment, you've seen it, you've heard it, are talking about International Women's Day. And it is so frustrating, but you know that you need that day because it raises awareness. It tears me apart. International Women's Day is frustrating. It's brilliant. I don't know what to do with all of those emotions. Grace, I can see that you've come up to the stage. Are you okay, hon? Is there anything that you would like to share?
Hello. Firstly, Lucienne, I just want to say you're absolutely brilliant, and I loved watching you yesterday and hearing those conversations, and it's appreciated. And I think some people forget or don't realize how much work that takes. So I wanted to say that I see you and I appreciate you. And then everything you were saying there, I'm kind of at the beginning of my journey. I feel really about really owning the space that I'm in, which is around having an invisible disability. But what you're saying is how I feel. Like, it's how do I go through this without burning out? Because there are times when sometimes I'll disengage with my own topic and my own area because I'm getting so infuriated by something, or it's hard, or you get pushback. And then there's days when things are celebrated more than others. So I just wondered, you know, on the journey you've been on as well, which is absolutely incredible, any tips really for people who are, when you're working in spaces like this, where naturally I think there's always a tension really between that bigger cause and your own personal safety in some ways, or your own personal kind of mental health and things. So just any thoughts or advice really on how you manage that and how you recharge and are able to keep going, right? Because that's the key thing, is consistency and longevity, I suppose.
Yeah, great question, Grace. Really great question, and thank you for your kind words. I said to you in our messages, I said how I felt, and the answer to your question is sometimes I don't feel like I want to carry on. Sometimes I feel like it is too much, and sometimes I feel like I want to give up. And those times happen less and less frequently. But the power in that is me knowing and having been in that state of awareness where I have wanted to give up to the point where I did before. I've given up before. I gave up on myself, on my family, on my son. I gave up on fighting. I gave up on pursuing what I wanted to pursue. And it's the worst and darkest part of my life. And so I know that it's not an option for me. I know that when I get to that point and I can feel it coming, I need to rest. I need to speak to people who get it, who get me. And there are a handful of people in my life who really get me. My partner is one of them. My ex-husband is one of them. And because he does a similar style of business to me, and he knows me so well, he's often the first person that I'll go to when I'm feeling like I want to give up. And I think to answer your question, Grace, it's knowing what that feeling is like. So knowing what it feels like to want to give up, the emotions that are happening inside of you, the things that you're thinking and that you're saying to yourself. So really knowing what those things are and being aware of those signposts is what I call them in my daily reflection. So I do a daily journal, an evening and a morning journal, which before was very business focused, very goals focused. And since I met Rihanna has become more personal, more a lot deeper in how I'm feeling. And in that process, I have got key signs and signposts that tell me you're thinking this, Lucienne. So here's some of the things that I think when I want to give up. It's interesting because I don't feel like that today. So it's hard to kind of conjure it up from my head. Some of the things that I think when I want to give up are, it would be so much easier if I just got a job. That's one thing that I think when I want to give up. It would be so much easier if I just got a job. That is a massive signpost for me. I know it's gone too far if I start looking for jobs online, and I get offered jobs a lot in senior level education and I'm often declining them. So if I start looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, that's another good sign. So the first one is I'm saying to myself, it could be a lot easier. It would be a lot easier if I just went and got a job somewhere. The second thing that I hear myself saying is nobody understands. This is a really common one. Nobody understands either how difficult it is, what I'm going through, what I've had to do to be here, to get this, to get that. That is a really big, like, Ninor, Rihanna, that's for you, a Ninor moment of, yeah, this is a problem, because it doesn't matter that nobody understands. If I'm in a victim mindset, I've definitely gone to the point where nobody's going to be able to help me, because I'm saying to myself, nobody gets it. I can't let anybody in to help me. And so when I think these, I've given you 2 examples of the things that I'm thinking, so I know what my signposts are. When I have noticed that, I know that I need to take a step back. And I'm telling myself when I take a step back, this isn't permanent. Because we have a tendency when we're in that frame of mind to catastrophize. And catastrophizing would be something like, nobody understands me and they will never understand me. But having the signpost of nobody understands me, but that's just how I'm feeling today, I need to take a step back. Tomorrow I'll feel differently. That's very different. So I know my signposts. I know the behavior that I need to embark upon to make sure that I get back on track. and you just got to keep going. You know that you've just got to keep doing it. And folks, you know, if one day you sign online and I say, do you know what, I've gone and got a job, actually it's far more likely that I'll just stop doing everything altogether and I'll get in my camper van and I'll travel the world. That's probably more likely what I'll do. If that's happened, just know that it won't be forever. It won't be forever. And we have that real kind of fatalistic, catastrophic approach when we're in that mindset of going, that's it, I'm done, never again. So Grace, do you think that you can identify some of your signposts of what you're thinking when you feel like that?
I definitely can. That was so useful, and thank you for being so vulnerable in it as well. Mine's usually like, be quiet, and start telling myself to be quiet, or people don't want to hear about this, they're going to be sick of you hearing about this. And that's normally my sign. And then the other one is, it'd be better if you just bury yourself in a corporate job somewhere. So I can relate to that one as well, because it's all about just stepping back and retreating, isn't it? So I totally can. And you know what helps as well, and I forget that, it's when you're having a tough moment, remembering that it's a moment and it's temporary. Because I also like to really blow things out of, you know, oh, my whole life is going to look like this, I need to run away. So thank you, Lucienne. It's really helpful.
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking the question. And our natural impulse is to run away, to retreat, because that's where we're going to conserve our energy. That's where we're going to hide. And don't get me wrong, there are times where we do need to do that, where we do need to retreat, to recuperate, but it's management, it's self-management, and self-care is an ongoing, deep process where you have to be listening to what's going on. And I'm really lucky that in Rayanna, and Storm has recently joined us as well within the organisation, I have people that I work with who will understand when I'm finding it difficult and will know how to either back off or step forward or poke me or not poke me, and they're absolutely brilliant. Storm's fantastic, by the way. She's new to the organisation. Have a look at what she's doing. She's the one responsible for getting me to show up, and she is doing a great job of that as well. Absolutely brilliant. Rayanna, you were flashing your mic. Coming to you.
Oh, I'm only flashing to clap. I'm having a good old clap.
Oh, a good old clap from Rayanna. Excellent. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close the room out. However, I'm going to set you all a little challenge. I've had a nice deep breath, and now that I've managed to speak about myself for a bit in a grounded way, I think my brain's probably working a little bit better than it was before. So number one, showing up how you want to be seen. Really, really, really important that you're proactive, that you ask yourself, right, how do I want to show up today? And that you step into that energy before you do show up. Yasmin, it's great to see you on the live as well on LinkedIn. It's lovely to have you with us, another brilliant member of the collective who's been with me since the very beginning. It's so wonderful to have you here. Her candles are increíble. They are so delicious. She sent me one when I had my last foot operation, and my God, I think that smell just takes me back to those days of resting and recuperation. So thank you for that. Number two is asking questions of your community and of yourself, and communities that you're not in already. You know, challenging your biases, your unconscious bias, by being in non-echo chamber environments where you're listening to other people who've got different opinions to you. Number three, understanding how you can actually help. Check out something called effective altruism. You can go a little bit far down that path. So, you know, within reason, have a look at what effective altruism actually means and what your money is doing when it's being donated to charity, or how you can best help somebody either save a life or improve their quality of life. That's a great way to go and research it. Number four is to share your learning and the fact that you are learning, the fact that you don't know everything, and that really puts people at ease. It's an absolutely brilliant way of showing up online on your social media. Hey, I didn't know this, I've learned this, or does anybody know about this? That's asking a question. That's how you can show up. And number five is being prepared to get it wrong, the one that I couldn't remember before. Isn't it funny how the brain works? Being prepared to get it wrong and knowing that it's not the end of the world if you do. And I love that Grace came up and asked a question, because it leaves this really, really strong imprint that I want to just leave everybody with before I close the room. We're going to close it 10 minutes early today. And that's to say that your emotions change. No emotion lasts forever. And so when you are feeling really low, when you are feeling like you just can't, and you'll know what that feels like, when you feel like nobody understands, when you feel like you don't have what it takes, know that that feeling will change. That feeling is transient. It will not be there forever. You can choose how you feel. How amazing is that? You actually have a choice to think, feel, and act a certain way. And so when you're making the choice to show up, to ask questions, to challenge norms, to challenge your biases, you are doing it for the better and benefit of the world. Right, my phone's ringing. Decline. Okay, folks, have an absolutely brilliant Wednesday. I'm going live on audio on LinkedIn tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Do please come and join us. Thank you to everyone who's been here. Rayanna, Storm, Dahlia, Lorraine, Grace, Carly, and Suzanne. It's been wonderful to have you. Let's get the momentum of these rooms up again. Let's get lots of female founders, lots of women who are not trailing the blaze, who are blazing the trail. Let's get them in here. Let's get them committed to self-improvement, professional improvement. Thank you for supporting. Right, I'm off. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.